Grow your practice 1 million in 1 month. This guy can't be serious. There's no way. No one does that except for one of my clients. No, I'm not crazy. It's not a typo on the thumbnail. It actually happened. It's actually one of my most successful clients, one of the most successful stories I had in working with a client. It was just something I wanted to share with you. So my name is Kevin Johnson, and I am the CEO of Leverage Consulting, as well as the creator of Leverage U, which is an online university. So again, you may think this is crazy, $1 million in 1 month. There's really no way. But yes, it actually did happen. This client actually got their entire ROI for their consulting investment in 1 month, but they also grew their practice $1 million in 1 month. And you might think, well, there's no way, because most practitioners only produce a couple $1 million in a year. So how do you grow it? How could we be that far off? So to give you a little backstory, this is a multi-doctor, multi-location practice. But that said, there weren't 20 doctors or anything like that. It was, I believe, 3 locations, and I believe there were 5 or 6 doctors. And even with that, if you imagine, if we could grow $1 million in a month, we had opportunity, lots of opportunity. So with this, when I started working with them, we started diagnosing and figuring out, where do they have these opportunities? Where can we grow this practice? And one of the things that we figured out and discovered is that there were so many people just walking out the door. They would have treatment proposed or treatment discussed, but they would walk out the door. And what we ended up doing was helping them figure out a way and design a system with their team. And this is, when you talk about treatment presentation, it's not about one person, it's about the team. Because in any environment, if you think about going to a restaurant, the waiter or waitress could kill the specials that are sold for the evening. It could be that the person answering the phone doesn't make people want to order the special. Any number of people in your practice could be the make it or break it. So when you think about growing a practice $1 million in 1 month, what we really ended up doing was helping them design the system with the people, design the system with the scripting and systems, so they knew what to follow. One person knew what the next one was going to do, and so on. But we also created priorities. So in addition to having systems and scripting and the right people in the right seats of the bus, we have to make these things a priority. And sometimes when people say, we already do that, this is a whole video I should do again in the future, or do in the future, because all too often I hear people say, well, we already do that. And to me, that's usually an indication this is where we need to start peeling the onion. Because when someone says we already do that, okay, but in a sense, they're following some of the right things, they might be doing some of the things that are required, but maybe not with the right intensity, or maybe not in the right way. So that's what we started evaluating. That's one of the things, or a couple of things that we started digging into. Is it a priority on their list? So is this something they do when they get to the end of their day and they get everything else off the to-do list? Is this something that they do when they have time? Is this something that they look at like, you need oxygen, I need treatment acceptance? You have to look at treatment acceptance as one of those things that everything else is secondary to this, because you don't get a second chance. The first and foremost, the best time to do this is when the patient is standing in front of you. So if you let them go, it creates something where it takes more time from you and your team to track the person down, have the conversation, try to build value again, because as soon as they walk out that door, they're getting on their phone, they're going to talk to their friends, they're going to get on social media, and they'll forget everything you talked about. So now we have to start from zero again and convince them this is the ideal choice, this is what they need to do, and again, build value for what we're doing or what we're proposing, and probably answer all the same questions we've already answered before. So we've helped them prioritize. We showed them how to prioritize and make this the number one thing on a certain number of people's list every day. This turned into their priority. We honed and sharpened the systems to where the handoffs were fantastic. We honed and sharpened the systems to ensure that those treatment coordinators had the ability to propose that treatment, get a yes from the patient, but also answer their questions and get everything coordinated before that patient left. And that was, quite honestly, one of the biggest reasons, or the biggest ways we were able to grow that practice 1 million in 1 month, was to make this a priority for the right people in the practice, but also make sure that when that patient flowed through the practice, we had a system, we had scripts, we had a way to hand these patients off. And you might think, well, that still sounds far-fetched, and it was not, because we created $1 million worth of production in 1 month amongst 3 different locations and multiple doctors. We scheduled that much, and it may have taken a month or 2 or so to realize that, but we grew it 1 million in a month, and that was just the first month. Imagine what would happen the next time we do this. So if this, let's just say, if this happened in June, well, what would happen when we apply the same concepts in July and then August and September and so on? So this, if this is the first month, which sounds fantastic, maybe a little too fantastic, I don't know. Okay, imagine if this is the first time they've done this. Imagine what the second month will look like, the third month, the fourth month, and so on. So this, in a sense, it only gets better with time. It will be just like wine. It will get better with time because there are certain things that won't feel right. There will be certain scripts. There will be certain systems, certain things that will need to be ironed out, which we did. It wasn't perfect that first month, but they still grew. And that's where that old adage about progress is better than perfection comes into play. Some people choose not to take that first step. Some people choose not to jump in with both feet and just try it out because they're worried about it being perfect. It's not perfect until you try. It's not perfect until you have worked through it a few times, and then you get a feel for it. And then you get a feel for what does or does not work. And when you attack it in that way, when you work through it with your team, because some of you might be thinking, I can't do all this by myself. You're not supposed to. That's why you have a team. You have a team to help leverage yourself. You have a team to help spread the responsibility. And we have a team to help us show the patient the value. Because in my new patient timeline that I share with clients when I do presentations and workshops, this is like a 15-point process, just treatment presentation from that first referral. Because you may have a friend in the community, it might be your insurance company, somebody said, go to their practice, okay? It starts there. And what do people say about you there? And everything that we do with our patients on a day-to-day basis defines what they said about us in the dairy aisle at the grocery store when someone said, go to their practice. It starts there. So then it moves on through a 15-point process. And in that process, you have multiple people from administrative employees to clinical employees that will help build that value until we get to the end. We only have 2 objectives when we're working on treatment presentation. I want a yes from this patient, and I want a 5-star review. Those are really the only 2 things. We can come up with all kinds of other responsibilities and ideas and all these other things that we say are priorities, or basically we get in the weeds. We get in the weeds with all the other stuff, but really when we boil down this entire treatment presentation process, we want 2 things, a yes and a 5-star review. So with that said, think about your practice. Think about the opportunity. Even if you're a solo producer, is it plausible or possible you could grow your practice $50,000 in a month? Is it possible you could grow it $20,000 in a month? Because even $20,000 in a month, that's almost $250,000 in a year. And it's really not that much more work, because when you really sit down and you do the math on $250,000 worth of growth in one practice with one doctor for a year, that's really not that much work in one day. It's really, when you really think about it, for many of you, it's probably a difference of 1 or 2 patients, or in the addition of a little extra, or some other procedures, some other codes for a patient that didn't see the value in it before. So it might be the same patient sitting in the same chairs, but possibly we could have built value so they would say yes to something else that we proposed along with the treatment plan that they accepted. So think about that. When you think about your practice and your opportunity and your outcomes, your future, think about how much opportunity you have with your practice and whether you've maximized it or not. So again, my name is Kevin Johnson. I am the CEO of Leverage Consulting, also the creator of Leverage You. If you like content like this, if you're interested in seeing and hearing more content just like this, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit that alert button, because there are more videos keyed up just for you, and they're coming in the very near future.